Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Premier Sim Gaming Leagues in association with GT Omega. We've seen PCF1, and it's time for the rest of the talented drivers on the PC platform to see what they can do. Welcome to round one of season 31 here in F3. Welcome to the Austrian Grand Prix. My name is Luke. Alongside me for the whole season will be Paul. And Paul, quite a short season, quite a lot shorter than what they did on the last game. So, should be fantastic action. They've really got to hit the ground running.
Yeah, they absolutely do, and it's exacerbated even more by just how stacked the grid is. The pace across all of the time trials was absolutely immense, and I've not seen much of the way that drivers have been placed, but I imagine they've had quite a hard time figuring out who's going where, and you can tell just how stacked the grid is, given that we've got our PCF3 Season 30 champion is still in F3. That's what there's like barely any difference between PCF3 and PCF2. But they just ran out of room in F2 for all of the really, really talented drivers. And you can see on the screen now just how stacked this PCF3 grid is. We've got a few names you'll recognize from Season 30 PCF3, as well as some PlayStation drivers. There's some PCF2 drivers that have come down to join us in F3 as well. There's immense talent on this grid.
Yeah, certainly. So if we go through what we'll do is actually, you can see the 20 full-time drivers on there. We'll quickly run you through what are the default driver lineups for the rest of the season. There may be a couple of late-minute reserves that have had to come in tonight. But driving for Alfa Romeo, it is going to be Jeffrey Ritchie, or Ghost, as he is using on Steam right now, alongside Zoltan Boda, his FES teammate. Christian Sendal and Leonard Goetze for Alpha Tauri. Ryan Jacobs and Joseph Loeb in the Alpine. Jan Halladej and Jarno Tripkov and Or Shazoo lineup for the Aston Martin team. For Ferrari, it is going to be Olaf Soko, and in my opinion, one of the pre-season favourites for this league, Drake Dempsey, Andrew Crappy, and Valentin Thijvaart, who put in a fantastic performance on the PS tier on the Haas on the last game, so we'll see what he can do. Jonne Martins and Zander Van Dijken in the McLaren. Modesto Mena and Alessandro Maras on the Mercedes. Driving for Red Bull, it is going to be our reigning champion in this tier, Morgan Ball, alongside Jake Finch, who actually won the Austrian Grand Prix last season here in PCF3. And in the Williams, it is going to be Daniel Kija and Yerne Dovzan. And you can see some of the reserves there at the bottom, some very fast names as well. It should be a fantastically stacked grid. It's going to be, a grid a lot that you are familiar with. A lot of these drivers will, be familiar with having raced against each other last season, but also some new names transitioning over from higher tiers, from lower tiers, and as you've said, coming over to the PC from the PlayStation, and it's a brand new game, so just because you were good on the last one, not necessarily mean you're going to be good this time.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It's a very different beast driving the cars, of course, this time round, with the new aero rules that came in the real life sport, came with it into the game as well. And I know there are some people who have gripes with the way the cars handle in this at the moment, but I can guarantee you every single one of the drivers on this grid will have gotten to grips with it already, with the way the cars are, with a lot more weight behind them. And of course, all of the aero being based around the floor now rather than over the car makes it very different to handle. But I know we've got a few of the drivers from bits of research and stuff we've done beforehand that we've seen have already proven themselves within the F1 22 game in a race setting. So you've got the likes of Jonne Martins, who's already done a race at Austria in F1 22 and P5 to P2. We've got Leonard Goetze, who raced at Australia in F1 22 and won his race there. So there's a good couple of drivers that have already got some experience under their belt in the new game. So it's how well that pace will translate versus those who maybe haven't done any league racing in F1 22 yet, whether they can carry their pace forwards from F1 2021, be it from PC or PS.
Yeah, it will be, like we said, it will be fascinating to see how things work with that, how the drivers cope. We will be going into qualifying shortly, but I think before we do that, just want to quickly go through what the calendar is going to be like, because it is a slightly different calendar to what we've seen on the PC side of things. So if we just get that up for you now, you can see the calendar on the screen there. Very, quite a short one. I think a lot of people may be interested to see how the new track goes next week out. We've got Miami for the first time.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to Miami, especially on this calendar, because, the new track, of course, added in this year's game as it debuted in Real World Formula 1 this year. And it's it's a track with a lot of promise. We've got some other great tracks down there as well. You've got Monza, of course, always a league racing favourite coming up later on, and then back to Italy towards the end as well. For Imola, we're ending on Silverstone, which is an absolute banger of a track for league racing a lot of the time. One track that's not on here, which I'm kind of sad to see gone, but I can also kind of understand why, is Saudi Arabia, not included in this calendar. I've only ever seen banger races around Saudi Arabia, but when you've got 22 tracks to choose from, something's got to go.
Yeah, something has got to give, and you never know, if the rumours are to be believed, there might be even more tracks to come in. I know that video was proven to be fake with the Hockenheim circuit, but there are definitely rumours that there are going to be some more tracks coming up in the future. But enough about the future, let's get into the present. Let's head out there onto circuit, into qualifying, and you can see a few drivers are just getting ready for their hot laps now. And the first one is going to be Jonas Martins to get F3 qualifying underway. In fact, no, the first one is actually going to be just a bit further ahead. It is Jarne Tripkov, but we'll follow the McLaren man as he makes his way around turn number 1. Now heading up the hill through turn 2, probably the easiest corner on the Formula 1 calendar. But you've got to put your braking point just around the 100-metre board there for turn number 3. Heading towards the third DRS zone now on this track. On the run down to what is a very tricky braking zone at turn number 4. You'll see a Marshall light aboard just there on your left-hand side. That is roughly where you want to be braking. Very easy to go deep into that corner. Now heading in towards this middle part of the circuit. Turns number 6 and 7 really start to put some pressure on that front right tyre. Very easy to get a bit of a snap and run wide at this part of the circuit. Turn number 8, nice and smooth. Ride the curve as much as you dare in these ground effect Formula 1 cars. And then the final 2 corners. Turn number 9 with that infamous pit entry on the right-hand side. Flying the way through turn number 10. Jonas Martins has kept it nice and valid, and he's kept it with a reasonable time as well. 1:04.044. About half a second off what we saw pole position in PC F1. We would expect a bit of a margin, of course, because they run in full qualifying. Whereas here we have short qualifying, and Valentin, 1:03.8. He was known as a bit of a qualifying king on the PlayStation. Seems like his transition to PC, he's managing to keep that moniker.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really, really nice time for Valentin Tivard at the start of the session to get a 1:03.8 on the board, really showing some intent at the early part of this qualifying. There's plenty of time left for the times to tumble, but we were saying before about how stacked the grid is. You can see just how stacked the grid is and how tight the grid is. 104 is coming up and down the board. 104, 0, 4, 0, 7, 0, 7. With Jonas Martins, Craig Dempsey and Sander Van Dyken all split by 0.03 of a second already in qualifying. Modesto Mena dropping in just behind them as well at the moment. So it's anyone's game, at least at this phase of qualifying, but they're going to have to take the fight to Valentin Tivard with that great banker lap that you've got on the board already, as we're starting to see a few of the drivers coming back in. Now they've used their 1 lap on this set of softs. They'll be getting ready to go out on another set. Though there are a few drivers, or at least one driver that's out of sync at the moment. Jarne Tripkov went out first earlier on in the session, but invalidated that first lap time, dived straight back into the pits, and has put on another set of tyres and is straight back out there once again to try and get a lap time, maybe with a bit less traffic with a lot of the drivers coming in now. That could play into Jarno's hands. Yeah,
this is a circuit where obviously, because of the very short nature of it, we've already seen sub 64 second lap times. It's, you know, you can get away with doing extra runs, you can get away with doing something slightly different. What it does mean is that it's an almost certainty you will encounter some traffic at some point on a run, and we've seen that in other leagues. We've seen drivers have some mistakes. We have actually got a reserve racing tonight, and that is going to be Luka Milanic. He's just making his way around the final corner in the Red Bull. He is replacing Jake Finch tonight, who I believe is not feeling well, unfortunately, so get well soon, Jake. Hopefully we get to see what you could do this season. Again, mentioned already, was a winner around this circuit last time around. Jarne Tripkov on that second run. 5 minutes gone in this session. Up the hill towards turn number 3. Turns 3 and 4 are where you're going to expect to see the majority of the overtaking on this race. Turn number 1, you've got to be a bit brave, even though it is a DRS zone. And sometimes you see moves into turn number 4 that aren't really completed until they're heading out of turn 7 and 8.
This track does lend itself really well to side-by-side racing, which is, of course, a lot easier in this game compared to the last one as well, with much less effects when it comes to dirty air and stuff. It means you can get a lot closer racing. So I'm very much looking forward to that. as you say, going through that middle sector of the lap. I'm just trying to keep one eye on what Yanni Turpkov's going to do as we're heading towards the end of the lap now. It was a purple first sector, though granted the first sector is basically one corner. Just about on the edge of the track limits coming round. Final corner and across the line for the first lap. So the middle and the final sector not so hot there for the Shizou driver with a 1:04.361, which is still a quick time, but compared to everybody else is a good 3 to 5 tenths off the pace of the top guys. So still time to be found for Yanni Turpkov right now, as most of the rest of the field is coming back out on an outlap right now. I can see Yanni Turpkov's teammate Jan Haladej is currently out, but coming back in again after a couple of laps, sitting in P8 at the moment. Ryan Jacobs out there on a lap at the moment, or is he? Yes, he is. So he's just coming around towards to finish a lap, in fact. And where will this put Ryan Jacobs? First completed lap of the session, P17. So not a representative time by any means, a 1:14.2. So there must have been a mistake somewhere in that lap time, but there is a time on the board at the very least for the Alpine driver.
Yeah, the Alpine has managed to get a time on the board there. Valentin Taivard, 1:03.857. We'll see what he can do on the rest of this lap. See whether he can put in a respectable lap time in the Haas car, just making his way around. Oh! And that's what we said about this track. It can bite. Just puts a wheel on the curb there, coming out of turn number 6. Very nicely done with the spin. Managed to keep it out of the barriers. Not what you want to be doing. And with a pretty low amount of ERS. It's not too surprising to see him heading straight back towards the pits. Jan Martens has made a mistake. Or has chosen to go for a second warm-up lap, which was quite a common thing on the last game. Not something we've seen too much on this one.
Yeah, so be intrigued to see if it works out for him. He's got plenty of ERS for this lap, so I'm just going to keep one eye on what's going on as we're heading down towards turn 3 with the McLaren right now. It's almost matching the best first sector time we've seen so far, 8/1000ths of a second slower, and it looked like struggling a little bit with the rear traction coming off of the hairpin in turn 3 there. A little bit of a wiggle by the look of it, but that was my end or not. We'll have to wait and see. The DRS is still open, so we're still going for it with Jonas Martins right now as we head around turn 4 and down into this twisty middle sector of the lap through 5, 6, and then 7 and 8 as well. We've got a bit of traffic up ahead that shouldn't bother us too much if they get out of the way in time, but they are looking to be going fairly quickly actually, so we might not catch them until we reach the straight. You can see, in fact, Jonas Martins backed out of this lap.
Yeah, he has done. Jona heading straight back towards the pit. So whether he just made a slight mistake, whether he got caught up in some of the traffic, you know, the things that we said could catch you out on this game. It is very easy to see. We've got support for quite a few different drivers in the chat here. Ryan, Andrew and Joe. So that'll be all the PSL drivers, the Paradox Sim Racing teams. Looking forward to see what they can do over the season. Here's Drake Dempsey then in the Ferrari, a man who said on Twitter, admitted it, and disappointed to be in F3, but I'm going to try and prove them wrong by showing what I can do. He's definitely up there at the moment as Xander Van Dijken just sends him down into 4th place. What can the American do as he makes his way around the final 2 corners? That tricky pit entry there on turn number 9. Turn number 10 is one where we're probably going to see quite a lot of track limit warnings and therefore invalidations in qualifying and the race. And Drake Dempsey gets himself up into 3rd, and it is that final corner. You get it wrong through there, you've ruined yourself 2 laps.
Yeah, indeed, because the game will invalidate the one you're on and your next one as well, just to stop you from driving too far out and slingshotting over the line, carrying more speed. And while Drake Dempsey was setting that lap, Luca Mulanak has been the second person to drop into the 103s so far this evening. 103.979, good enough for 2nd place, pipping the 2 McLarens and Drake Dempsey onto the front row of the grid so far in the Red Bull. So good pace showing so far there. As who's out there on the lap at the minute? In fact, Valentin Tavard is out there once again, current pole sitter, just starting up another lap in the Haas car, then heading up towards turn 3. There's a bit of traffic up ahead, but should hopefully be able to get past those. In fact, they do slow them right out of the way. Lost a little bit of time through the first part of the lap, but there is still time to make that back up again if we stick with it. It looks like we are. The DRS is open as we head down the hill towards turn 4. And we're picking the braking points very nicely, slotting across the inside. Has he backed out of this one because the traffic's catching him back up again, so I think he might have done.
Yeah, looks like he has just backed off of this lap. So, you know, quite common to see a few drivers backing off or choosing to do the multiple laps. Ryan Jacobs is one of them, and we've just seen there his teammate, well, actually, sorry, not his teammate, one of the Williams drivers, Daniel Kiejum, another person who did extremely well this season. He's got himself onto the 1:0 minute freeze, as has Luca Milanic to reserve, as has Morgan Ball, his teammate for tonight. So, still Valentine's first lap, good enough at the moment. Says a lot about how good of a lap it was. That track evolution hasn't really seen that get beaten at the moment, but other quick drivers are out there trying to set hot laps out. And there we go, Jona Martins on his third run at the moment. DRS open on that run down towards turn number 4. Just gets it. Just misses the apex, I think, by a few millimetres, but we're seeing how close qualifying is. We know how competitive these drivers are. A few millimetres can make all the difference.
Absolutely can, and if you want to know just how competitive they are, go back and watch some of the F3. Oh, that's Jona Martins set a purple second sector, and he's just gone around at the exit of turn 8, well, on the apex of turn 8, coming off of 7. That was looking like a quick lap for Jona Martins, but just dropping it out there means he's going to have to pick himself up and go again. But as I was about to say, if you want to look at just how competitive it is, look at PCF3 last season. Morgan Ball and Daniel were fighting each other for the championship for a large portion of that season, and right now in qualifying they're separated by half a tenth of a second.
Yeah, not bad at all at the moment. Not bad at all. Modesto Maina down in 10th at the moment, just having a little bit of a moment coming out of turn number 4, managing to run himself on the curb at the moment. It's glad to see that the pin message has had exactly 0% of the effect that I expected it to, but there we go. Modesto Maina heading his way into the final couple of corners. What can the Spaniard do? Went from last to first at a race last season at the Belgian Grand Prix, so he's definitely a driver who has got some severely good pace. Can he show it in this qualifying session? And you ended up invalidating that lap, just getting it slightly wrong. That lap would have been 600ths quicker than what he'd done at the moment, and it would have gained him 6 positions. Incredibly close with 5 minutes to go at the moment. The 19 drivers that have set representative lap times currently separated by about 5.5 tenths of a second. Not too shabby whatsoever.
Oh, it's crazy how many 104 flats that we've seen. Like, less than a tenth between P6 and P13 it's just insanely close. And I'd say Modesto Maina is going to be one to watch this season. As you say, he went from last to first in Belgium last year, or last season, should I say. Only 7 rounds raced, 4 race wins, and has an F1 Esports Challenger race win under his belt already in 2022. So there's definitely pace in the Mercedes driver at this time. So definitely going to be one to keep your eyes on through this season, along with just about every single other driver on the grid, if we're honest. Leonard Goetzer, excuse me, has managed to move up to P3 in the AlphaTauri at the moment. I was wondering when he might show his pace that we know he's got from PCF3 last season, and showing it there with a 103.971, 8/1000ths faster than Luka Milinak. So again, showing how close things are. We're starting to get more of the 103s coming up on the board now. With 3 minutes to go, we're going to get the last runs from a lot of drivers coming up very, very shortly. And I wonder, can anybody pip Valentin Dumar to the pole position? As we've got one driver out on track. But no, Andrew Korapi is coming back in. So everybody coming in now, and Yannick Turkov, the first one to go out for this final run of qualifying.
Yeah, so things very quiet out on track here in the Styrian Mountains for a split second before things start to heat up again. Yannick Tripkov down in 16th at the moment. Only needs to find, 1/10 of a second and moving up to 14th. He finds a quarter of a second. He's there fighting for the top 4, but this is a fairly simple circuit. Only has 10 corners, and we've already debated turn number 2. You could argue turn 5 is just a continuation of turn 4 as well. So really 8 proper corners that you've got to try and make your way around on this circuit. So not too many places to gain time, and those DRS zones, 3 of them, will be extremely crucial in the race, because if you drop outside of the DRS range, you are going to find yourself in heaps of trouble. But Yannick Tripkov, he's going to be the first man to set his final times in qualifying, and we've seen a lot of drivers back off late in the lap, but they just don't have the ARS to set a second run. Yerne Dovzan was one of them was doing a decent job in Sector 1, but by the time it came to Sector 2, just was losing time out of every single corner as he couldn't put that electrical energy into the car and on into the times.
Yeah, hot lapping on the battery is it's not really good for anything more than a single lap, as a few of the drivers are learning, and just keeping one eye on what Yanni Turpkov's going to be able to do. Of course, the first driver back out in this this final run, but just looking at the track map, there's so many cars up ahead. In fact, already backing out of this one, realising just how much traffic there is, and deciding to wait to go again. Who else have we got on a lap at the moment? Jeffrey Ritchie is out there on a lap at the moment, as a few more drivers are starting to cross the line for the final runs of qualifying. So what can the Alfa Romeo driver do at the moment? P6, just 7 1,000ths outside of that 103 window where we're seeing the top 5 sitting in at the moment. So a marginal improvement, as even Jeffrey Ritchie decided to back out of this one. Everybody wants to be the last driver across the line. I think that's what's going on here.
Yeah, everyone, you want to get that track evolution. You want to be the last one across the line. As Drake Dempsey has a moment coming out of turn number 4. We'll see if he has backed off or if he's still going to go for things here throughout the rest of his lap. He was up through Sector 1 and he's up through Sector 2 as well. So Drake Dempsey might be one of the first guys to set his final time in this session, because he won't have the battery to get round again. He definitely won't have the time to do a cool-down lap. So it's now or never for Drake Dempsey. Doesn't need to find much to gain himself a bit of time, as Ryan Jacobs gets himself onto the front row of the grid. Drake Dempsey shoots himself up into 7th place. We now have 6 drivers on a 1:03.9. Xander Van Dyken goes fastest of everyone then on a 1:03.836. This track evolution is proving to be very important. Valentin Tijvaart has invalidated his lap time, and that's such a shame for him, because that would have been good enough to improve slightly. But he is going to have time, is he? No, he's not. He's invalidated completely. So Valentin, that first lap, good enough for 2nd place.
Yeah, absolutely. And just it was a very, very quick lap. I was just watching how that lap went. But a little bit of an invalidation right at the end. That's how costly it can be. Daniel's about to come around across the line. Runner-up in PCF3 last time. And like he braked across the line there. So to start, what was it? 1:03.935 was showing. So whether he braked across the line on purpose or not, I'm not quite sure what happened there. It did look like he slowed down, at least at my end. But almost identical time to what he'd already set so far in the session. Olaf Socko's moved up to P2 as well, while all this is going on with a time 2 1,000ths of a second slower than Xander Van Dyken. So that is an immensely close front row of the grid. Who's going to be coming across the line next? I'm trying to keep my eyes on it. They're going to come thick and fast any moment now, as we've got out there. Alessandro Moras is not on a lap at the moment. Luka Milanek is off the road. Soko's already done on that. Zoltan Boda's moved up to P4 as well on the final effort in this session, and I think everybody that's going to set a lap has done so this will be the grid now.
Yeah, I think it will be. Joseph Loke just backed off in the final sector, so there was going to be no improvements from him. Alessandro Maras there in 11th place at the moment. He's on his way back toward the pit. So it is Xander Van Dyken in the McLaren going to take pole position here then. Said he was feeling good about this game. Never really got to grips, I think, with F1 2021 as much as he would have hoped to. But he's not doing too bad here, and look how close things are. You've got the top 5 drivers separated by 0.04 of a second. I mean, Morgan Ball's there down in 10th place. He's less than 1.5 tenths off pole.
Yeah, that's you might look at that grid without context and think, PCF3 champion from last season's P10 on the grid, what's going on? But then you look at how close it is and you go, oh, okay. Like, there's like nothing in that. That's a blink of an eye. So it's so tight at the top that 2 1,000 separating pole and P2 and a 10th separating the top 10 is that we're in for some nutty races this season if that's how close this grid is going to be all the way through.
Yeah, I definitely could cope with things being this close throughout the entire season then. But as we take a look at the times, you can see there, Xander Van Dyken fastest at the moment. Olaf Soku in 2nd place. Valentin Tijvaart in 3rd. Zoltan Boda 4th. Jonas Martins, Ryan Jacobs, Daniel Lennekertz, Milak and Morgan Ball are your top 10. Alessandro Moras starts just outside, and remember, there is no fresh tyre bubble. Everyone gets fresh tyres on F1 2022. Drake Dempsey alongside him, then it is Jeffrey Ritchie, Joseph Loke, Jan Halliday, Modesto Maynard, Andrew Crappy, Yerne Dovzan, Jarne Tripkov, and Christian Sendel. The only driver outside of half a second. We're going to hear from our partners, GT Omega. Yes, an exceptionally close qualifying session there. Sander Van Dijken take pole position. Olaf Soku somehow squeezing himself in towards second place, and the man who was leading in the early stages of the session there, Valentin Tijvaard, only ended up in third place. You've got to feel he's got some pace in the bag because he did that on his first run.
Yeah, that's a one and done. We saw him try and improve on that lap, but not quite able to link it up. But still a very competitive time. Still nice and far forward on the grid for the race, which will be starting very, very shortly, of course. And yeah, I feel like the start is going to be everything in this race. Given how tight the grid is, you blink, you slightly miss the start, you bog down on the start, it's going to cost you. And it's given how tight they are on pace, it's going to be very, very difficult to make those positions back up again if you do have a poor start. Aside from on strategy, we'll have to see how that plays out too.
Yeah, it's a bit like you said, if you do get things slightly wrong on the start, you are going to find yourselves in a bit of trouble. So it's going to be an intriguing thing to see how the drivers manage to do around the Red Bull Ring. First used back in 1970, 4.318 kilometers, 2.683 miles, with the 10 turns and the 3 DRS zones. Basically, half this circuit is a DRS zone. As we're now going to head our way in towards the race, just see what tyres everyone has gone for, because it is that free tyre bubble, and it's not really too surprising to see that everyone's gone for the hards.
Yeah, so everybody choosing to go long on this opening stint, and no advantage going to be. I was wondering if we might see somebody try for a soft or a medium start, just to try and throw a spanner in the works and try and get a bit further up off the start, but clearly the cons outweigh the benefits on that one. We've got white wall tyres across the grid, 36 laps. So of course there will be a pit stop, and we'll have to see who will be first to bite, but everybody on the same strategy is going to make it very, very interesting, and especially for those that are teammates, of course, because double stacking can go wrong in this game. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on exactly how the pit stops play out when they do play out later on. Of course, a very short formation lap as well, which with everybody on the hards gives them a bit of an extra challenge to get all the heat in the tyres that they're going to need, because it's not a very long lap at all. But I imagine they will be all absolutely fine in terms of that, as the drivers now making their way towards the grid. Sander Van Dijken leading them all around, getting ready to pop into the grid slot to start us off in PC F3 season 31.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what these drivers can do, all making their way around. Of course, we've got the manual grid starts here, so you can see drivers coming in at different angles. We've seen people quite often as well get disqualified for not quite parking their car up in the right way. I say as Jarne Tripkov provides a perfect demonstration of that, but it is Sander Van Dijken with the perfect view, with that run down towards the first corner. We've got 5 lights here in Austria. They go out and we're underway. And it's a good start then from Sander Van Dijken. Ola Soku can't quite get alongside him. And Valentin Tijvaard's going to try and go all the way around the outside in towards turn number 1. But it is Van Dijken, Soku, Tijvaard, Bowden. We've got Kiju and Jona Martins battling side by side there. As there's a yellow flag further back, and Jona Martins has made a bit of a mistake. Daniel down the inside of Zoltan Bowden in towards turn number 3 on these first lap. They're definitely trying to make the moves as early as they can, but Zoltan just holds on with that one, and you've got Luka Milanic and Leonard Gertz going side by side here. Luka on that outside line, he's going to try and have a move at Ryan Jacobs as well. I think there's contact between the two of them. Oh, Dempsey's off into the gravel. I think he's got front wing damage, and Morgan Ball, our reigning champion, having to take evasive action as well. Quite a dramatic first lap.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked a little bit messy there with the little bit of contact that we saw between Leonard Goetze and Monac there coming through turn 4, and then it just looked like Monac couldn't collect the car and was just wobbling across side to side across the track and made contact with Drake Dempsey. And I'm not sure, Morgan Bull must have got damage as well, because the two's coming into the pits. I definitely saw a piece of the Ferrari fly off. So chaos for the champion, among others, at the start of this race as well for Jeffrey Ritchie. I'm not sure quite what happened to him in the opening. He's coming to the pits as well after whatever happened at turn number 1. And going on the soft tyre as well as Jeffrey Ritchie at this opening phase. So really looking to try and claw back time as fast as humanly possible. It's a side-by-side action going on a little bit further back. Jonah Martins and Daniel having a little bit of a battle coming through turn 4, with Jonah Martins staying in front for the time being, but Daniel really starting to apply the pressure on him.
Yeah, Daniel really trying to get that move back. Jonah did a fantastic move in towards turn number 3. Of course, without DRS, that'll get activated this time around. We're on board then with Joseph Lowe here. Let's see what he can do. Races in British F4 as well. Anyone who's big touring car fans might have seen him racing on their support package. The fastest lap times start to tumble at the moment, and outside of those who had to pit on lap number 1, so Dempsey, Ball and Ritchie, everyone else is within DRS range of the car in front, which is going to be a bit frustrating unless you are Olaf Soku, because it means the car in front of you is going to have DRS, and it's going to be pretty difficult to get an overtake done. As you can see here from Ryan Jacobs, was only 2/10 of a second behind Daniel Keeger, heading out of turn number 1, but just can't close up on the straights.
Yeah, this DRS train is going to play out for a large portion of this race. I think it's going to be who can make a really brave move on the brakes. It's about the only way, I think.
Oh! Sorry to interrupt there. There's been a bit of contact between Luka Mlanic and Jan Haladej. Funnily enough, as you were saying, brave move well done on the brakes. Jan went for a bit too brave of a move.
Yeah, there's brave and there's ambitious, and there's a very, very fine line between the two. And I think Jan Haladej just found out how easy it is to cross that line. And speaking of crossing lines, Jeffrey Ritchie's race has gone from bad to worse already, annoying the in-game stewarding system by crossing the white line too many times and picking up a track limits penalty on lap 4.
Yeah, so Jeffrey Ritchie with that track limit penalty on lap 4 on a set of the soft tyres. I have seen people take softs and mediums quite a long way on this game, but it's not really the ideal strategy. Here's the fastest man on the track then. At the moment, Valentin Thivard, being the third man in the DRS train, yes, means the car in front of you has got DRS, but you're really taking advantage of the slipstream. You're only having to fight about 50% at worst of the air resistance of the car in front of you, so you can save yourself a bit of fuel as well in this situation, and there's no fuel mixers like there weren't on the last game, so there's always an opportunity to just go for it a bit more later on in the race, especially if you have under fuel, but it doesn't look like that is the case at this moment in time, and it's we see this a lot on Formula 1 games. This is kind of the way the races go if you're new to it. In the first stint, yes, we've had a bit of carnage already, but in that first stint, things are relatively calm up until towards the first pit stop, and then after the first pit stop, all hell normally breaks loose.
Yeah, I think a lot of the drivers do just like settling into a rhythm in the early part of the race and sort of just managing their tyres, managing their race as a whole, and not taking too many risks or wanting to sort of get in each other's way. Just sort of race their own race and play out the strategy and then start fighting later on, as there is a bit of fighting further back. Losing a position to Christian Sendell into turn 1 as the two Aston Martins going side by side as well there of Jan Haladej and Yannick Turpkov. A bit of a slide there for Jan Haladej, it looked like, coming out of turn 3, but just about managing to stay ahead of the teammates. In the other Aston Martin, still everybody in DRS range of each other, even these little mistakes cropping up. This is how strong the DRS train is and how evenly matched everybody is on pace. And I wonder who's going to be the next one that will just try and carry a little bit too much speed through one of these corners and pick up a track limits warning. As I imagine that one that we've seen already is not going to be the last. Hopefully it will be, but as esports races usually go, those penalties do start to come in thick and fast later and later the race goes. Valentin Thivard, still looking like one of the faster drivers on the track at the moment. He's right on the back of Olaf Soko still. trying to find a way past the Ferrari, but that DRS just making it difficult for the time being as something's going on at the back.
Yeah, something must have happened there. Didn't see what it was, but Luka Mlanic, our reserve driver for tonight, he's had a bit of an issue, so he now drops outside of that DRS range, and it is going to be a task to get himself back within it at the moment. Definitely not ideal, and you see there's quite a bit of dirt on that Red Bull as well. There's been a few cars running wide in these early stages. Yeah, on the odd occasion, Valentine's looked close to the back of the Ferrari up ahead of him. They're all identical cars as well in terms of the performance. The only differences or whatever the drivers have done to their setups. And the setups are normally quite different at the start of the game, and then all converge on very similar ones by the time we get to the end. I know we've seen all sorts of weird and wonderful things around here with drivers going for extremely, higher levels of downforce, which is faster over one lap, what normally means if you're in a train, it's impossible to overtake. Or they've gone for low levels of downforce, which will cost you in qualifying, but will definitely help you if you need to defend or attack in the race. So it will be interesting to see the sort of differences with the straight line speed and the ERS usage as everything goes on. As again, Valentine closes up to the back of Soku, but nothing doing. It's been a disastrous race for the Red Bulls, as that's Morgan Ball, who's now gone round in the middle sector. Our reigning champion down towards last place, the closest Valentine's been for a while. Later on in the race, I think he's going for that move there.
Yeah, I think you're dead right there. It's one of those where it's so early in the race, is it worth trying to dive bomb into turn number 4? And the answer is always going to be no. 7 laps into a 36-lap race. There's plenty of time left to try and get a move done that's perhaps a lot cleaner, as our reigning champion retires from the race already on lap 7 then. So Morgan Ball will not be taking any points away from this first race of the season, which is not what you want if you're trying to defend a championship in PSGL, especially not when the rest of the grid are so close and hunting each other all the way up and down the fields. You're going to need every point that you can get out of the season, I think, given how tight everything is. Once again, a very long train of cars heading through turn 3. Nobody trying anything opportunistic just yet. Everybody sort of sitting in their rhythm, waiting to see what happens, and just trying to play out until the pit stops. By the looks of things, a few cars are getting closer to their rivals in front, but nobody looking at anything risky just yet.
Yeah, everyone being quite calm. No one really looking on which, for the disappointment of Joey Coxenden, that they're going to have a spin at the moment. Everyone seems to have quite a good balance on these cars. Let us know your predictions in the chat. Who do you think is going to take the victory? Who do you think would be the next spinner? And if you do want to test out your predictive muscles and get that brain working, you can always join the PSGL League on Grid Rival. Our affiliate link is in the description below, and it has plenty of social features as well, so you can chat and compete with your friends. And if you want my advice for the French Grand Prix, I'd be very tempted to stick Lewis Hamilton in there. 300th race. I've just got a funny feeling he might think about doing something this weekend. And I've got a funny feeling Valentine's Ivod might start getting fed up of being stuck behind Olaf Soku before long. The pole in front of him just moved over to the right-hand side there, and I'm not sure whether that was a half-hearted attempt at attacking Xander Van Dijken or a half-hearted attack at defending from the Frenchman, but it has put him offline slightly. So can Valentine make this move work all the way around the outside in towards turn number 4? We've seen that backfire on many Formula 1 drivers over the years, and again on this occasion Valentine just can't quite get far enough alongside. Joseph Logan led of Goetze having a fantastic battle as well. Joseph just coming on top of that one, so both Alpines are now quite high up in the points in 7th and 8th place. And that's the first real attempt we've seen at the start of the field, but I think Olaf has proved what happens if you go for a move. If he went to the right of it, almost as if he was going to go down the inside of Xander, changed his mind, but then he's offline, and it just allows the car behind you to have an opportunity. And this is the problem when you're in a train. If you go for it to get it wrong, you're more than likely going to end up getting overtaken yourself.
Yeah, absolutely is the thing, because if you start scrapping, it's going to lose you time, and the car you're scrapping will, with time, to any cars in front. As Jonah Martin's diving up the inside of Zoltan Boda into turn 3. A very neat and tidy move for the McLaren there, sliding himself up to P4. That's the first real move we've managed to see stick at this phase of the race. We've seen, of course, Joseph Logan and Goetze going at it last lap. It looked like Ryan Jacobs was lining up Daniel as well last lap, so things are starting to heat up. Drivers are starting to get frustrated to be stuck behind the driver in front. As I say that, Leonard Goetze looking like he's going around the outside, side by side to the middle sector now. With Joseph Loeb having to back out of that one, but these two are getting very racy. 10 laps into this one. Again, Leonard Goetze looking to try and force some defence out of Joseph Loeb, but having to stay behind for the moment. Are we going to see any moves into turn 3 on this lap? We'll have to wait and see. Can't do that too many times. Leonard Goetze, that looked a little bit too far off the track on turn 10. We need to be careful with those track limits as we head up the hill now towards turn 3. Is this where Leonard Goetze is going to make the move, or are we going to see the move coming in turn 4 once again? Whatever he does, he needs to be careful because Alessandro Moras is right behind him.
Yeah, Alessandro right there as well in the Mercedes, almost pushing him through that corner. Modesto Maina's dropped quite a bit back further on in the field. In fact, I think Modesto might have left the session. He's ghosted at the moment. And yeah, he has dropped a long way back without us really seeing a reason for that. You can see the position changes in the field there. So the biggest gainers at the moment, Christian Sendel up 12, Yerne Dovzan up 11. I think partly, in fact, to all the chaos we've seen in the field. And Joseph Loeb gaining 6 places as well, from 14th to 8th place. Biggest losers, understandably, those that have had to make early pit stops or who have had issues in the early stages. Off the hard tyres, I've seen some intriguing strategies on this game on the hard tyres. I've seen drivers come in as Mlinic now gets a penalty. I've seen drivers come in around about lap 14 or 15 and then take the mediums towards the end. So that might be one to watch out for, especially if you're stuck in a train. Could be worth going for that undercut.
Yeah, it absolutely could be. And everybody being in a train means that any single one of these drivers could be the one to try it, as Christian Sendel looks like he's lining up a move on Yone Dobson in turn 3. Looks at it, but backs out for the moment. And maybe gonna try something into turn 4. We'll have to wait and see as the DRS is open, but it didn't look like he had the best exit off of 3, so maybe no move for now, whether he's choosing to sit there or whether it was just that bad exit. We'll have to wait and see what happens on the next lap, but looking a little bit racy for P12 and P11, trying to get closer to those points at this point in the race, it would appear. Sander van Dijken is still leading the race at the moment, like 12 laps in, still leading from Olaf Soko and Valentin Timard running up the podium at the moment. These 3 look like they're going to be going at it to the end, and strategy is going to be vitally important.
Yeah, strategy is going to be key around here at the moment. You can see the position changes there. If we go back to the tyres, everyone is on the same set of tyres apart from those who are pitted. So Drake and Jeffrey Ritchie, who just had a spin on the earlier lap, did Jeffrey. So not going ideal for him whatsoever. In an 11 race season, it's important that you hit the ground running. Ryan Jacobs trying to hit the ground running, then down the inside he goes on a Daniel Kija, and it's going to be a straight drag race then between the Alpine and the Williams. The Alpine's got the inside, the Williams has got the outside. They're bagging wheels like Mansell and Senna down here. There goes the Englishman, and he has got that position. Daniel Kija thinks about fighting back, and even though the Alpine has a little bit of a wobble, that is enough for the position. Ryan Jacobs up in towards 6th. After this race, I think everyone else needs to watch the Alpines and see what they've been doing, because they're the only ones that seem to be steadily just working their way up the order at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if it may be a qualifying pace thing for those Alpines, whether they're just better on race pace with either whatever setup or even just driver preference compared to a single hot lap. Like, we know Ryan Jacobs has got pace. So it doesn't surprise me to see him moving up P2 in Challenges 2022 on Xbox. So we know that Ryan Jacobs is a fast driver, transferring that skill across to the PC side. As we're seeing Olaf Soko and Valentin Timard. In fact, Soko's gone off at turn 3. That was very wide from the Ferrari. That's allowed Valentin Timard through. They're side by side down towards turn 4 now. But it's the inside for Timard, and that's his position right now. And that is what you want to do, as that's around goes Soko into the wall at turn 4. And for somebody that was pulling really well this race, he's got no front wing. He's doing so well, and it all comes undone in the blink of an eye.
And we've got a safety car. We have got a safety car for that debris out there on circuit. You can see yellow flags in all the sectors. There's a few cars slowing down at the moment, and Olaf Soko seems to be quite happily going around at quite a rapid pace, which I'm not sure is the best thing to be doing. I think maybe now he's realised that there is that safety car, and the entire field comes into the pits to get that change of tyres, which is good. Well, you know, it's good news for them. They get a cheap pit stop. One driver it might not be good news for, though, is Jonas Martins. Tiny bit of a double stack there. It's only going to cost him, you know, about half a second to a second. Likewise with Joseph Loke. But we'll see if he loses out any places even. It is Zander in the lead then. Valentin Tijvard there in second place. And yeah, Jonas Martins ending up dropping back behind Ryan Jacobs.
Yeah, this is what I was saying earlier on about drivers on the same strategy coming into the pits at the same time on the same team. You're going to lose out. And yeah, he only lost half a second. But half a second when a grid's this tight, that's a good handful of positions that you lose in that situation, as demonstrated by Jonas Martins there. And he's going to have to work to get that back. And the only thing he can rely on in the final stages of this race to get that position back is pace and pace alone. We were saying a minute ago, you've seen drivers go hard, pit on lap 14, go to mediums to take them to the end. That is exactly what every single driver on the grid is doing right now, with the exception of Drake Dempsey. So it is pace and pace alone, thanks to the safety car, that is going to dictate who wins this race.
I wonder, if Drake's got another fresh set of medium tyres, I wonder if we're going to see him come into the pits and put the mediums back on, just so he's on the same tyres as everyone else. Because we know they will get themselves towards the end of the race. That is what everyone else is hoping for at the moment. And he has got quite a gap over Jeffrey Ritchie there. Things, you know, I would expect him actually to still be able to come out the pits just ahead of Ritchie. So let's watch out for this one to see whether the American pulls his way in towards the pits. And apologies for the slight sound bugs we seem to be having. Every now and then it seems like you can hear every car on the grid at once, but you know, it is F1. That is the sort of thing that that can happen at times, unfortunately. That safety car's definitely stirred up the field a bit. Zander Van Dijken leading, Valentin Tijvard in second. Zoltan Boda also losing out there, actually, behind Daniel Kija. Somehow, Daniel's managed to get himself up into third place as well. Good job by the Williams.
Yeah, I'm assuming just because Williams are right the way down the pit lane, aren't they? So my assumption is when he's come in, everybody he's managed to get past were just in the pits, and they were held while he went past. He zipped in, changed his tyres, and zipped straight back out again before they caught back up to him, and stolen a couple of positions. A great pit stop for Daniel at the moment, coming out in P3, and we know he's got the pace to hold on to that position as well, so looking nice for a podium. Of course, runner-up in PCF3 last season, so we're looking to try and go one better this time. Main rival from last time, of course, the champion from season 30 is out in this race already. If you missed it earlier on, had an absolutely abysmal first sort of third of the lap, and has retired from this one already. But meanwhile, the field is bunched right the way back up behind the safety car. I imagine will be in either this lap or next lap, with the field already bunched up. In fact, is it coming in this lap? It's pulling away from Zander Van Dijken. So yeah, it is. The lights are out. So the safety car is coming in. Zander Van Dijken will lead the field around for the restart. When is he going to go? And is he going to, you know, jump ahead of everybody else at this one, or are they going to be able to follow him nice and closely? He's leaving it quite late. There he goes after the exit of turn 10. So he's pulling away from Valentin Tijvard. As he knows they're just about sticking close together for the time being. But there are fighting going on a little bit further back. Jonas Martins and Leonard Goetze side by side going up the hill alongside Ryan Jacobs as well. It's 3 wide coming out of turn 1, going up towards turn number 3. And it's Ryan Jacobs backing out of it. And there's a bit of contact there as Leonard Goetze goes around. Was there contact with Jonas Martins there? It looked like there might be. And Leonard Goetze coming out the unfortunate loser in that situation. Jacobs and Jonas Martins living to fight another day for P5 and P6.
Yeah, they are, and Jena Dobson's managed to get a move done there on Alessandro Maros. And, you know, we've got a bot in the chat saying if we're tired of being alone. Of course we've got. We've got over 300 of you watching, and we are appreciating this fantastic action we are seeing here at PSGL in partnership with our lead sponsors, GT Omega. We're nearly at the halfway point of this race, and that is Alessandro Maros making his way through the gravel at turn number 8. Thankfully for him, he's able to continue, but he has now dropped behind his teammate, and we've got there, I think, Jarno Tripkov running wide, and Mavis and Soku having a right old ding-dong here. We're used to seeing You know, in the olden days of Formula 1, Mercedes and Ferrari battling, and we're going nearly 3 wide here as they've got an Aston Martin of Tripkov alongside them as well, and a bit more contact. Things are getting scruffy at the moment. There's a bit of, you know, first race nervousness. Everyone clearly wanting to get themselves a good start. And this safety car has been good for Jeffrey Ritchie as he tries to move around the inside, around the outside actually I should say, of Yanni Tripkov. And it looks like he's got that done. DRS will be activated next time around. Looking at the pace he had in stint number 1, I do wonder whether we'll see Valentin being able to challenge Zander, because of course now we're not expecting anyone to come into the pits.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of pace, I'll be intrigued to see how well Olaf Soko can get back towards the front end of the grid as well after that incident a little bit earlier on with dropping him down to P14, which is not where you would have expected him to be given the pace in qualifying and the early stage of the race. I think everybody's just settling in at the moment, ready for that DRS to come back online, which it does right now as everybody goes on to start lap number 19 in this race. Zander Van Dijken will be the only driver, I think, not to get it, as that's wide coming through there was Modesto Mena coming out of turn 1. That's one position for Olaf Soko already, and his teammate Alessandro Moras gets by as well. So a mistake there for Modesto Mena, who is looking to come back at his teammate. Now the two Mercedes are side by side through turn 3. Respectful driving between the two of them. They're still side by side as we head towards turn 4. Olaf Soko just up ahead. All of them having DRS on one another. But Modesto Mena might get that move done because Soko will block in Moras. And yeah, just that little bit of a block from Soko as they were both very late on the brakes helped Modesto Mena get back past his teammate. But he did lose that P13 to Soko earlier on in that move. And who is going to be next to try any moves? I feel like everybody that we've got with that's sort of out of position now, we might start seeing the later this race goes, slightly more and more, I don't want to say desperate moves coming out, but a bit more lungy, sort of risky moves, as Soko has retired from the race.
He's crashed out. Crashed out of the final corner as Olaf Soko. We can't quite see though, because by the time we got the camera on him, the last car had gone past him, but Olaf Soko has crashed out quite a long way out of the final corner. So if I wonder if he's got
I've just seen what happened. He got on the curb on the outside of turn 10. The back end just let go, and he couldn't save it, and he speared off onto that outside wall. I've just caught it on the stream replay on my second monitor. Yeah, he's just lost it all on his own coming out the final corner.
Yeah, so a second big mistake from Olaf Soko. The first one knocked him a long way down the field and caused that first safety car. That one has, knocked him out of the race, unfortunately, for him. Lap number 20 then, 17 laps to go. 16 and a bit if you're picky. And 18 drivers still in this race. Leonard Gertz's fun and games at the safety car restart have knocked him down to last place, unfortunately. And the man who's been leading all the way through, apart from a split second where Suku passed him before running wide as Valentin Taivard almost follows Suku into the wall out the final corner. You can see how hard he is pushing to get the win at the moment, but it is McLaren, Haas, Williams, Alfa Romeo, the second McLaren of Jona Martins, getting a pretty good run there, but just can't do anything at the moment. And if we take a look at the ERS levels of some of these lead cars, you can see they're all above 50%. They're not really pushing too hard at the moment because they know they've got to do a bit of management if they want to get these tyres towards the end of the race. Although saying that, Ryan Jacobs is right on the back of Jona Martins. It was the Alpines making the moves earlier. Ryan Jacobs definitely looking racy at the moment, and these top 6 are almost at the stage where they're dropping that midfield pack out of the crucial 1 second range. Yeah,
we are seeing some of those gaps starting to open up now. Modesto Mena dropping to back further than a second. In fact, Modesto Mena, as I say that, I don't want to say curse to the commentator, but he's spun. As I mentioned him on the broadcast, he's definitely out of DRS right now. But he was dropping DRS from Luka Milinak, who was looking pretty racy as well. Andrew Farapi is now caught up to the back of Milinak, as I say that. So those guys have dropped Jeffrey Ritchie at the moment. Meanwhile, up front, it's still all as it was for the time being. Yannick Turpkov becomes the next to pick up a penalty for track limits. We're starting to see a few more of those pick up now as Zoltan Moda looking pretty close to the back of Daniel as well now, looking for that final podium position as we head down towards turn 4. And that looks like that could be pretty racing. Those guys is Daniels. Valentin's gone round, yeah.
He's done almost a carbon copy of what we saw Soko earlier, but thankfully for him, he was able to hold the car. But yeah, just lighting up the rear tyres coming out of turn number 4, and that's Valentin Taylor, who was very close to Xander Van Dyken, was within a tenth of a second there. He's just lost the car, just nearly gone round. Thankfully for him, no damage done in terms of, to the car, and he's still within DRS range, but he's gone from being all over the back of Xander Van Dyken to being all over the back of Jerne Dovzan, and the Williams having a pretty decent race at the moment with Daniel in second and Jerne in 6th place. I'm on for some good points, as are McLaren, and it is now Xander Van Dyken leading, Daniel second, Zoltan Boda in 3rd, Jona Martins in 4th. It's going to be Valentin Taylor then in 6th place. Nice and easy lead on Jerne Dovzan. Jerne just started to struggle with that ERS usage. You can see the percentage there. It's less than 10%. He's in trouble. We could see him drop further down the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Though, if it's any consolation, though, to Jerne Dovzan, the guys behind don't have a lot of ERS left either. They've been using a lot to scrap a few. Joseph Lope's got a fair bit left. But you've got Jan Halliday, who hasn't really got any left. Christian Sendel's got a lot less than some of the other drivers. Luca Milanak's not got much either. So that could play into Jerne Dovzan's hands, at least to try and salvage some more of that ERS back, that the pressure won't be as much as it perhaps could be at this stage of the race. But what can Valentin Taylor do right now to get back to where we've seen him this entire race? Just dropping it and dropping back down to P6. He's got to get past Ryan Jacobs to be in with a shout of getting back on the podium, which is easier said than done. Jacobs having a really good race so far. He's been very pacey and very racy in that Alpine, making moves throughout this one. So it's going to be a challenge for the Haas to get back through. Meanwhile, Xander Van Dyken's probably feeling pretty happy with himself right now. He's got good ERS left. He's been leading from start to finish. And his main rival that was applying the pressure earlier on isn't there anymore. He's got Daniel right behind him, who's about evenly matched on the ERS level at the moment, but not looking to pressure him at this particular moment in the race. We'll just be sat there for the time being. So yeah, it's looking pretty cushy if you're Xander Van Dyken right now.
Yeah, it is, and he's got Ben B, baby, bringing the supports for Xander, who's doing a brilliant job right now. 4 tenths of a second ahead of Daniel. 1/3 of the race to go. Jona Martins, the first time penalty from those drivers up towards the front of the order. And you can just see there, it is 3 seconds. If we change to the gap, that would knock him behind Christian Sendel as things stand. That is how costly penalties could end up being around this circuit, as Jona is now, I think, realising that he's got a penalty, realising he needs to get a move on. That's way too late on the brakes from Jona Martins. Was not stopping that in a month for Sundays into the side of Daniel. And Zoltan Boda is able to take full advantage of that side by side with the Williams. Zoltan Boda is up into second place. Has he gone too deep? Jacobs into the back of Daniel. That's nearly spun him around. And the upshot of all this, Xander Van Dyken is now outside of DRS range. His teammates done him a bit of a favour there.
Yeah, that was a scruffy move from Jona Martins, and it's really affected those behind him, because Daniel, as we saw, he lost momentum coming off of turn 3 down towards 4. That let Zoltan Boda through. Not only that, he's going to have side pod damage. Surely, he's got to have side pod damage from that contact, which is really going to affect his speed going through a track where a lot of it is straight lines. So he's going to come under a lot of pressure, I think, from Ryan Jacobs very, very soon. Here's Daniel, unless he can get right the way back onto the back on Zoltan Boda, who isn't going to have that DRS. So Xander Van Dyken running away might at least save Daniel 2 this time. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But yeah, Ryan Jacobs, I think, is lucky to not have front wing damage as well from the contact that he had going through turn 4. I don't think he was quite expecting the lack of speed, as there goes Daniel with the DRS on Zoltan Boda, a sitting duck with the Alfa Romeo right there with no DRS assistance. So I imagine this is going to be a position that swaps over quite often over the next few laps. There's about 10 laps of this race to go as well. It's getting very, very scrappy out there.
Yeah, and as long as they keep swapping positions and don't cost themselves too much time, there is a possibility that they can get back within a second of Van Dyken up front. They've just got to be smart with how they do the overtakes at the moment, and you never know. There is a chance. The way Dander's defended from the lead of the race and has never really looked like being overtaken at any point. Suku briefly got ahead of him, but I think that was more Olaf had outbraked himself in a similar way to what we've just seen Jonas Martins do, rather than an actual overtake attempt. So it's looking good for the Dutchman to take a victory here on the PC platform. Took a victory as a reserve last season on PlayStation. Wasn't the greatest season for him all in all, but getting that victory shows he's got pace and he is proving things at the moment. Joseph Loke having a battle with Milanic and Andrew Karapi, and here's the Haas all over the back of the Red Bull. Can he descend it down the inside in towards turn number 4? Thought about it, sort of got halfway alongside, but was never really committed enough for that one, as Bolt seems to be he basically said F around and find out, and Benjamin F'd around and he found out what happened there when he asked where's Jarno was. The mods are on it today in the chat, and who else is on it? Obviously Xander Van Dijken, 1.7 second lead. I said the others, if they can work together, they might be able to catch up. They've not got the pace.
No, Xander's in another world at the moment in terms of pace. As, it has been from start to finish. It's been yellow flag in sector 3. What's going on there? Is that Modesto Mena having a moment? No, that's the other Mercedes. That's Alessandro Moras, who has had a moment. Lost some front wing, so I'm not quite sure what's happened there, but an end plate less on that Mercedes. It's been not a very good race for the Mercedes team, it has to be said, with Modesto Mena having the issues earlier on with the connection and then dropping back down to the rear of the grid. Now Alessandro Moras dropping down as well with whatever has caused his damage. And a race to forget for the Mercedes team, as Jonas Martins is getting very close to the back of Ryan Jacobs once again now, and will be perhaps a little bit more wary of trying to make any moves this time to move forwards. We saw what happens when you get it wrong on the brakes. They'll be looking after it a little bit more, you have to feel, playing it a little bit more safe perhaps in these final laps of the race. We've got 8 more to go, well 7 more now, and it is still Xander leading from Daniel, who's managing to hold off Zoltan Boda's offences right now. They're not too different on DRS usage either, so Daniel doing a good job without the DRS to stay in P2.
Yeah, I mean, you say he's holding off the defenders, as I think Zoltan there, I think that's the closest he's been coming into turn number 3. He's not had to defend. That's a nice ideal situation you have to be in as well, as there's been all sorts of chaos happening further down the order. Valentin Thibord, from looking like he could have a possibility of winning this race, he had that slight moment, he's had another one. He now drops outside of the points and needs to try and fight his way up the field, which is going to be hard with no DRS off the car in front. And I'm wondering if Daniel, if he has got any side pod damage, I'm wondering if it's just knocked a bit of weight off his car, because Zoltan's not really looked like getting close on any occasion at the moment. He's doing a very good job.
Yeah, he is, but there's part of me that's wondering if he's staying there on purpose for the time being, realising that maybe the race win is out of shout, and if they start scrapping, they're going to fall further behind. He knows Daniel's got pace. You can see that he'll see that in the gaps, as Tyvard's gone off again by looking at the final corner. A race to forget, from what looked like a race to remember. The first phase, dropping down to P15. But I'm wondering if Zoltan Boda's just sitting there for the moment, realising that if he does overtake, he's only going to get overtaken back again, and it will be a bit of a waste of time trying to get any moves done or anything like that. So he's sitting in the DRS, looking after his race for the time being. Maybe we'll see him start making a move towards the final phase of the race, maybe on the last lap even, to try and pip that P2 away from Daniel with the DRS, because it's these drivers, I can guarantee you, are going to be thinking about that. Where do they want to be going into the start of the final lap? Knowing there's a DRS train, but knowing there is somebody at the front who could be overtaken, that they will want to get through and not give them DRS back. So of course, if you go too early, if Zoltan Boda overtakes Daniel this lap, say, then Daniel's just going to get DRS on the next lap and take him right back again.
Yeah, it's a little tactical battle as well, and the detection point coming out of turn number 3, coming into turn number 3 is an interesting one, because if you get it just right, you can get the overtake done, and then get DRS to allow yourself to just escape away out of the front of the field, which is never too bad of a situation to be in. You can see Jonas getting closer and closer again to the back of Ryan Jacobs, but with that 3-second time penalty, again, he's going to drop behind Andrew Karapi. He's going to drop it a long way down towards 10th place. For anyone who's unfamiliar here with PSGL, the top 10 do get points like Formula 1, but it is 16 for the victory, 12 for second, 10 for third, 4 for 8th, and then 6-1 down for 5 for 10th. And if you set the fastest lap and you avoid the top 10, you will get a point, and that fastest lap is currently with Modesto Maynor, who set it on a set of softs, and I can't see anyone getting that one in this race. But out in front, it is Xander Van Dijken. He's used up a lot of ERS. I reckon that was, you know, when he saw what happened behind him, he made sure that he could get away. And it looks like that little move with his teammate, Yona going for the move on Ryan, getting it wrong. The contact happened. That's just allowed Xander to escape away, and it's been a very good performance. There was a lot of drivers we talked about doing well this season. Xander, perhaps we expected good things from him. I'm not sure we expected to see this.
Yeah, this is it's been on another level so far for Xander Van Dijken as this race, and yeah, the pace from start to this phase of to this sort of late stage led from lights to flag, lights to almost flag in this one, and looked pretty much unflustered the entire time. Everybody that's tried to fight him has sort of fallen off the road behind him through no fault of Xander's. Just kept his nose clean and is looking pretty good in the race for it. Speaking of ERS as well, it's worth noting that Zoltan Boda has nearly a full battery for this final few laps of the race, whereas Daniel only has half. Ryan Jacobs only has half, and Jonah Martins has basically nothing. So Zoltan Boda is really in the driving seat for this final phase of the race. I am fully expecting a last lap dive on Daniel, or maybe penultimate lap if he thinks he can run away quick enough. But I think last lap probably the most likely place we're going to see the move, as we've got more yellow flags. We're retiring Luka Monak in the pits. That means we lost 4 now with Modesto Maynor time as well. A little bit earlier on. Right, ooh, we've got a bit of a defensive move having to go on for Zoltan Boda now, taking the inside as Ryan Jacobs doesn't want to wait around for the last lap of the race to get a move done, and is trying to get through already. So this could play into Daniel's hands, as there is only 3 laps left. And Zoltan, you feel, is lining up ready for a late move to take P2 away, but now he's going to have to be defending. If he scraps too much, he's going to lose too much time to get that move done towards the end. Yeah, I can see why Zoltan's trying to wait, but I think Ryan Jacobs has seen that he's trying to wait and thinking, you know what, I'm just going to go for it now. If you're going to hang around, if you're going to take a lot of time, I'm going to try and get some moves done and just make something happen in this field. And I think for him at the moment, he's tried it, but, you know, a bit low on his ERS, not really working out too much. And maybe now Zoltan will be realising I need to get a bit of a hurry up, and you can just see he's got a bit closer. He's used about 20% of the ERS compared to earlier on. Daniel has a wobble coming out of the turn number 1 as Valentin Dybard's on a bigger wobble. He's around again at the final corner. Zoltan Boda, he had an opportunity that time. He's just not interested about going for the move. 2.5 laps to go. Zoltan Boda quite happy to stay in place as moves further back though. Goes trying to go around the outside of Leonard Goetzer, and this could be a brilliant cutback. Well, that Alfa Tauri had some fantastic traction then. No DRS. What can he do to defend the Alfa Romeo? Who is going to be the Alfa? Who's going to come out on top? Leonard Goetzer keeps hold of that place, and Ghost has to settle behind him for now. These drivers aren't going to get any points, but it's great to see they've carried on. And great to see they're still fighting, because we are still early on in the game. They're still probably learning, as Leonard has a bit of a moment out of turn number 6. They're still probably learning what the best strategies and the best setups are around all the circuits. Yeah, absolutely. For all the practice they would have had in either time trial or just some social races or little friendly races between each other, this will be, for some of them, the first league racing they'll have done on the game. So the first real competitive environment they'll have driven in. So even if you're racing around in P12, 13 and 14, it's always going to be worth keeping going and getting into those little scraps, sort of learning how the cars handle in this game in a racing situation, sort of where traction is in certain corners. You've got more yellow flags in certain parts, and I think having another spin, and it is just all come undone for him at the moment, and Zoltan Boda now on the penultimate lap of the race is getting very, very close to the back of Daniel, and as we're heading towards the final lap of the race, this will be it. If so, this is what Zoltan Boda will have been building up for this entire last sort of 10 laps to build up, saving the battery, getting ready to get this move for P2, knowing that there is no DRS if he does get it, So now will be the time to strike as Sander van Dijken goes on to start the final lap of the race. The rest of the field will follow him across the line, and where is Zoltan Bode going to make the move? Is he going to try it into 3 or is he going to try it into 4? It's going to be one of those 2 corners. It's just going to be a matter of which one. Up the hill towards turn 3 we go with Zoltan Bode then. No move here. Is it a late lunge up the inside? It is a late lunge up the inside, locking the front right a little bit as they go side by side off the exit. All of the battery is going to get dumped now. DRS still there for Zoltan Bode, so this is his position really, unless a really brave move can come out from Daniel, and there it is. Exactly as we said would happen. Now Zoltan Bode just needs to keep it clean, but look at this. Daniel's trying to come back through this middle section of the lap. There's no DRS anymore. And it looks like it is Zoltan Bode who's going to finish P2 then, with Daniel having to settle for P3.
Yeah, that does look like it is going to be the way. Ryan Jacobs trying to see if he can catch up to the back of Daniel, but I don't think he's going to have an opportunity. As around the final few corners, it has been a dominant first round of the season. Sander van Dijken wins at the Red Bull Ring for McLaren. Zoltan Bode second on the final lap, ahead of Daniel Kieja. Ryan Jacobs in 4th. Jona Martins drops down to 10th after the penalties. So it is Jerne Dovzan, Jan Hallenedge, Joseph Loke, Andrew Krapi and Christian Sendel. The rest of the points finishers. Ghost, Jarne Tripkov, Leonard Gertz, Valentin Dijvard still making his way round after what was a promising qualifying again, but unfortunately back to his old Mr. Saturday routine there with a disappointing race in 14th. Great Dempsey never recovering from that first lap. He'll be in 15th place. And we'll see what Alessandro Moraes can do, because I think he's just gone for the fastest lap at the moment, but I think he's finding things a bit hard, so we're not going to see him set the fastest lap. He has just backed off in the end. He will be the final finisher. It never really looked in doubt, did it? After the first few laps, Sander soaked up the pressure, and from the safety car onwards, well, from the start of the race onwards, really, he was untouchable.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw the pressure being applied a little bit sort of earlier on in the race, but yeah, no real doubt whatsoever, as I'm sure we're about to see what the game decides as driver of the day. I would agree with Rock in chat. Jerne Dovzan put on a great show. There it is as well, just popping up on the screen. I agree with that one. Jerne Dovzan from P13 on the grid to finish P5. An incredible drive in a field so close. But yeah, the race wins. Sander van Dijken never ever looked in doubt. Even with a little bit of pressure, he's just outlived his rivals more than anything around this track, and carried that pace right the way through to the end.
Yeah, superb job from him. He takes the top step of the podium. He'll be absolutely delighted with that one. The last time we saw him do that, it was on the PlayStation platform. Like we said, it was as a reserve driver last season at the Brazilian Grand Prix. He only scored 1 other point in the remaining 6 races that he did. He'll be hoping for something better this time around. Zoltan then taking that second place, and a brilliant result for Daniel Kieja as well, finishing on the podium. The rest of the provisional results then, if we get them up on the screen for you now, you can see there Ryan Jacobs in 4th position, Jerne Dovzan is in 5th, Jan Hallenedge 6th, Joseph Loke, Andrew Krapi, Christian Sendel, Jona Martins rounding out the rest of the points finishers. Jeffrey Ritchie just missing out after that incident at the first lap. He is 11th, and then it was Jarne Tripkov, Leonard Gertz, Valentin Dijvard, Drake Dempsey, Alessandro Moraes, the rest of the finishers. The retirements were Luka Melnach, Modesto Mena in the pits. We saw Olif Soku have an incident out on track, and our reigning champion Morgan Ball retiring in the pits as well. Definitely not the start he would have wanted, but perfect from Sander van Dijken. The only thing he didn't get is the fastest lap. I don't think he'll be too bothered about that somehow.
No, I think that that 1 point being the one that got away is not going to be the straw that break the camel's back for Sander van Dijken in that one, as he did take a very comfortable Lights to Flag victory. I will say I must apologise to Jerne Dovzan. I said started P13 and finished P5. It was 13 positions gained. It was a P18 start for Jerne Dovzan to finish P5, which is incredible feat of speed. And it makes me wonder, if we're going to the next round, where will he finish if he starts further up the grid? As we get ready for round 2. Of course, a different track, maybe different drivers have different pace through there. We'll we'll have to wait and see. Of course, it's so close between everyone. It's anybody's game still after one race, but Xander's got the ball in his court at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, he didn't put a foot wrong in that race. Took pole position, maybe a bit of a surprise, but from then on was absolutely fantastic. And he was helped by others sort of falling around behind them. Normally, you'd expect them to be putting the pressure on the leader, but we saw Olaf Soku have that issue. We saw Valentin Tybard had that issue, and then Jona Martins going for an overtake on Ryan Jacobs. Just completely got the break in wrong. Almost took out Zoltan Boda. Did end up hitting Daniel Keecher. And once Xander got that 1 second gap, it went from being unlikely that he was going to lose this race to being pretty much impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was trying to keep one eye on Discord to see if we might be able to get any words from any of the drivers following that race. See anyone just yet? Hopefully somebody will show up in a moment though, so we can ask a few questions to particularly the race winner Xander, just to see his point of view if we can. Let me just pop into the Discord to see if we can grab anyone at all. In fact, I say that you've already beat me to it there, Luke. But nobody's showing up just yet. I really want to see with Xander just how comfortable he was, and ask the question in the chat if Xander can show off his game files. See if there's anything dodgy in there, because we're given the pace we've seen. He's looking a bit sus for some people, though I can guarantee really it's all fine.
Yeah, I think he just got things good. He said he's feeling more comfortable in this game. He's someone who, maybe flattered to deceive a bit on the last game. I think people were expecting him to take that big step up after being a F2 champion. Just never quite worked out well for him. Didn't do a full season in season 30, but yeah, it's all worked out great for him in the end in this one. Taking a win, being a short season, that could be very useful indeed, and there was quite a few, no major incidents, but there were quite a few scrappy moments there, and it started right away with lap number 1. Just seemed to be tiny bits of contact, ended up with Drake Dempsey and Morgan Ball breaking their front wing, and from then on, they were just fighting a losing battle.
Yeah, absolutely, and it did, aside from those little bits of combat, as you say, contact earlier on, as you say, it looked relatively clean. I was thinking, we're going to get away with a nice clean race as opposed to sort of more scrappy race that we saw in the F1 side of things yesterday. But then after the pit stops, as we were expecting, it all heated up and we started seeing more mistakes creeping in and more desperation to try and break through this DRS train, and it led to more and more races being ruined, which was incredibly unfortunate, but a great race across the board nonetheless. And it's already shown us just what we can expect from F3 this season, given how close the field is. Defending champions got a lot of work to do as well to try and pull back and reclaim that title, as there's a lot of people looking for that crown this time. Yeah,
I think obviously being such a short season that you can't really afford to have too many DNFs. It's going to be, if you do a Xander and you end up pacing throughout the entire season and win a lot of the races, yeah, that is going to help you massively, of course. But any DNFs I think could prove to be fairly costly. We will just take a quick look then once again at the calendar. So a fantastic race today here on Austria. Next time around, it is going to be the first time we're seeing the drivers around the Miami circuit. As we saw in Formula 1, there's the odd overtaking opportunity, but you've got to be brave.
Yeah, absolutely. But the other thing as well with the way the track is, new, well, the fact that the track is new, rather, it means that there's not going to be any inherent advantage to drivers who've maybe played the games before, because a lot of the time, some of the drivers that have maybe played F1 2020, 2021 and so on, they'll know a lot of the tracks from just driving them more and more. But when we get a new track on the calendar, that's when we might start seeing some more unexpected names creeping up the field, because they don't need to rely on experience as much. Everybody has the same opportunity to drive this track before coming here. It doesn't matter if they've been league racing for 3 years or 3 months. They'll have only been able to play it since the game came out, and everybody will have the same amount of opportunity to gain experience around the track. So it does level the playing field a lot more, and in a field that's as tight as it is, I feel like leveling the playing field is an absolutely brilliant way to get us into race 2 of the season, and we'll see if any of those surprise names do show up.
Yeah, we'll have to see if, the the drivers towards the top of last season can work their way back in, or if we are going to have some more surprise results. If you've not had enough of your PSGL PC action, then there is plenty more to come, thankfully, for you. If you make your way over back to the homepage on the YouTube channel now, you've got F2, F5 and F6 going underway. F2 with Chris Buxton and Dan Field returning after his appearance in the F1 commentary box the last time out. And also, later on in the week, you can see PlayStation action on the Sunday and the Monday. The top tier on Mondays, 8 PM, with Jess Ball making her debut in the PS F1 commentary box alongside Aidan Carter. And then on Wednesday, we've got action once again in the top tier on the PC platform. And that is going to be a very fascinating race indeed, so make sure to check that one out. That is also going to be around Miami. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. It doesn't look like, unfortunately, we are going to get anyone joining us for the interviews. Hopefully we'll manage to convince them, bribe them somehow to come in next week. But thanks so much, guys, for being so engaging in the chat. Thanks also to our lead partners, GT Omega, as well, for providing prizes and providing these lovely chairs for us. And if you use the code PSGL when purchasing from GT Omega, you can also get yourself a nice little discount, so make sure to do that. But for myself and Paul, we will see you in a week's time in Miami for the second round of the season. Can Jander make it 2 in a row, or will the reigning champion Morgan Ball be able to recover? Take care of yourselves, everyone, and goodbye.